6 o'clock. I want to call the meeting of the East Long Meadow Planning Board for the January 21st, 2020 meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. And actually, before I get right into the agenda, I'd like to introduce our newest board member, Peter Punderson, who is probably not a stranger to people on LCAT, simply because he's a former selectman, a former planning board member, a former chair of the planning board. And so it's nice to have someone with that experience join us, so.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
My pleasure.
I am required to state that according to Mass General Law, that we are being recorded, both audio and visual with LCAT. And I need to ask if there's anyone else in the audience who is recording the meeting, and if so, please state your name. Hearing none, we can get right into the agenda. First item, Mr. Clerk.
Do you want to approve the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Approval of the minutes.
Okay. Of January 7th, 2020.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. And that passes. So item number one.
One abstention, right?
Okay.
Was that? One
SPRW,
abstention.
One abstention, yes. There.
SPRW 2019-44, Home Office. Request by applicant for a site plan review waiver for home office at 241 Pease Road, Assessor's Parcel ID 43-21-0 on a 1.6 plus or minus acre site in residential AA zoning district. The applicant is Paliana Borrelio, 241 Pease Road, East Long Meadow, Mass. And this is continued since December 17th, 2019.
So is the applicant here? Okay.
She emailed me, she's in Florida, and the person who's supposed to represent her wasn't able to make the last meeting. I'm not sure.
Okay. Then we'll just continue it again.
Okay.
Okay. Item two.
SPRW 2020-01, Enzo Martial Arts, request by applicant for a site plan review waiver for a martial arts school at 80 Denslow Road, Assessors Parcel ID 10-8-0, an existing 40,000 square foot plus or minus fitness studio shared with CrossFit Blue Diamond in the Industrial Garden Park zoning district. The applicant is Dustin Humphrey at 100 Hamden Road, East Long Meadow, Mass.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Come on down. Have a seat. Just going to ask you some basic questions. So tell us about your plans.
I'm going to be subleasing through the existing CrossFit Blue Diamond studio. We're going to be utilizing some unutilized hours for class times just to fill the space a little more.
Okay.
And then other than that, it's a part-time job just to make extra income.
And what do you think your hours are going to be?
Likely between 4 and 7.
Okay. Is that the building that's just right next to the bike path?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any board member have a question?
I think I have to kind of recuse myself. I wasn't here for this existing stuff, or is this brand new?
That's brand new.
It's brand new, okay. No questions?
No other questions from the board?
No,
Do I have a motion to accept or approve?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion made and second to approve the site plan.
Waiver.
Waiver, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're all set. Thanks.
Okay, SPRW 2020-02, Aesthetics Salon, request by applicant for site plan review waiver for Aesthetics Salon at 38 Harkness Ave, Assessor's Parcel ID 12-1-3 on .29 plus or minus acre site in the business zoning district. The applicant is Natalia, oh boy, help me out with this one.
Thank you.
Please help me. I'm sorry, 57 Renculo Street, Springfield, Mass.
Rensselaer.
I'm making a mess of everything here.
Come on up. So same basic questions. Tell us about what your plans are for the
So I'm an esthetician. I'm actually moving from the Reminder Building down the street to the 38 Harkness.
And how long were you in the Reminder Building?
Since June of 2018.
Okay. And your anticipated hours of operation?
Right now I'm doing Sunday to Thursday, but I could do any day of the week between like 11 and 8.
Yeah. Okay. Is
So you're sharing the existing salon, or are you taking over the salon?
No, so I'm sharing it with Caitlin, who's next.
Yeah.
But we are taking over, so the salon that's there is no longer,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Any other questions from board members?
You're not doing permanent makeup, or?
No.
Okay, fine. We have to ask that. Hey,
So-
Amy's
You
concerned.
have to ask what kind of makeup?
Permanent.
Permanent.
Oh, okay.
More like
They
a
need a
tattoo.
different
Like
permit for that.
tattooing.
Yeah. So, no other questions from the board, hearing none, I'd like a motion to
approve.
the site plan waiver.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
So a motion made and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes.
SPRW 2020-03, Home Office, request by applicant for site plan review waiver for home office for Dave, your window butler, a window cleaning business at 64 Meadowbrook Road, assessors parcel ID 79-11-19, on 1.32 plus or minus acre site, residential A zoning district. The applicant is David Morgan, 64 Meadowbrook Road, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Tell us about your business, what your plans are.
I've been doing windows for a couple, 2-3 years now with a partner of mine who just recently passed away. So his wife gave me the territory that I was maintaining for the last couple, 2-3 years. And basically, no business will be conducted out of the house. I just need an address, basically, and no signs, no customers, no showroom, no 18-wheelers pulling up, dropping off supplies, none of that stuff. Very, very, very small,
No commercial vehicle.
no commercial vehicle.
Connie, is there a question on this? Are we missing something on this
Yes, sir,
item?
we are missing the letter of authorization. Mr. Morgan is renting space and the owner did not provide a letter of authorization.
Yep.
Didn't realize, simple oversight.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're looking forward to receiving that tomorrow, hopefully in the mail.
Yeah, when I dropped off the application, it was, I believe, the last day to be able to get it on this docket.
Yep.
Last December 24th. And then Bethany sent me an email on the 14th saying that she needed some documentation that it was okay. So the owner is down in Florida right now, so I reached out to her, and she contacted me on Friday and said it probably wouldn't be ready for today.
Yep.
Because she had to get it notarized. So when I went to the mailbox today, I was hoping that it would be there, but it wasn't. But we all seem to believe that it should be here within the next couple days.
And so we're fine with making a motion to approve contingent upon approval of the authorization from the owner of the property?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to approve the site plan waiver with that condition?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion made and seconded. Any other questions, concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay, so that item passes. Thank you. Thank you.
SPRW
Good luck.
2020-04, facial stretch therapy, request by applicant for site plan review waiver for assisted stretching relaxation business at 38 Harkness Ave, assessors parcel ID 12-1-3 and .29 plus or minus acre site, business zoning district. The applicant is Caitlin Levine, 103 Swan Ave, Ludlow, Mass.
So she is.
I looked at it, like, I gotta ask her what it is.
So you can teach an old dog some new tricks by telling us about your business.
Fascial stretching, so it's connective tissue, not facial stretching, which is sometimes often confused because the spelling is so similar. It is table-based, it's fully clothed, so there's no issue in overcompensation with like massage, there's no crossover. And it is something that helps to increase flexibility and mobility within the joints of the body.
Okay. Your anticipated hours of operation?
By appointment, I'm currently working Monday, Thursday, Friday, and occasionally weekends, depending on appointment availability.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
So you don't apply anything? Okay, so it's just making you flexible?
Yeah, so it's soft, gentle movements with passive range of motion for the body.
That's different.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this site plan review waiver?
So moved.
Second.
So motion made and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the item passes.
Thank you very much.
Very good, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, yeah.
Okay, SPRW 2020-05, Home Office, request by applicant for a site plan review waiver for home office for JJK Productions, an event and concert promotions business at 118 Lee Street, assesses parcel ID 54-27-6 on .64 plus or minus acres in a residential A zoning district. The applicant is Joshua Kelleher at 118 Lee Street, East Long Meadow, Mass.
You guys,
How are you?
good, how are you?
Good. So you've been hearing some of the questions we have, so tell us a little bit about it. Is it just organizing
Yeah, pretty
concerts
much.
and events and?
That's correct, yeah, I have a small brewery out in Southwick, and we've been doing it for a while there, and now I'm getting work from other bands and events asking me to help out outside of my other business, so.
So you're like the manager for those
Exact-
businesses?
Correct, yeah.
So you're not storing equipment there or trucks or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, I'll pretty much do everything right on the phone or my tablet.
Okay.
Oh, events promotion, I got you, okay.
So he's not gonna be holding any raves there?
No, I just think about tents and all that type of thing, if you're that type of.
No
business.
equipment.
Okay.
So that's all phone work, basically, on a computer.
That's correct.
Any other questions from the board?
No?
Hearing none, I take a motion to approve the site plan review waiver.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
Okay. Motion made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Hearing none, that item passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Case site plan 2019-11, ground-mounted solar facility. Request by applicant for the installation of a 4-megawatt ground-mounted solar facility at the rear Pease Road, assessors parcel ID 33-1-0, located on 21.26 plus or minus acre site in a residential double A zoning district. The applicant is Steve Royer, PLH LLC, 222 South 9th Street, Suite 1600, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Continued from November 19th and December 3rd and December 17th.
So I guess I'd like our director just to kind of give a recap of where we ended a month or 2 weeks ago and where we still need to be.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So we received the response from Attorney Martin to the questions that you proposed. You were provided with those responses in writing. And we did receive plans on Friday morning, late in the morning, that had been revised. However, the Department of Public Works has not had an opportunity to review those plans, given the late date and time of delivery and the holiday Monday, when Town Hall was closed. So they do not have a response to the revisions. I did send a copy of the escrow, the draft escrow document to our finance and treasurer, as well as the town manager for review, and the decommissioning proposal also, which is to be reviewed by legal counsel and the finance department. So we're waiting on those. And I believe you provided everything else that was necessary for this evening's meeting, but we have those outstanding issues.
So I think a procedural one, I think you'd want to recuse yourself from this.
Yes, I have
It's
to.
a continued from.
Continue.
Yeah. So,
Excuse me, he has his PowerPoint if you want to, in case, can we hook that up, or?
I don't see an HDMI cable.
What's that?
I don't see an HDMI cable, so,
Oh,
but I can see where we're going here.
we had one last time, that's,
Yeah, is that possible?
I just think it might be more helpful.
Is there one that's dropped down?
Oh, that's gonna be tough.
She's checking for one.
I don't have one.
No.
But
This is not Bluetooth, is it?
No, that's just an Apple TV. I thought there was something here last time.
Yeah, there
when I
was right on the
presented.
table that we hooked up to last time.
so it's my understanding that you're looking for 4 specific waivers. So a waiver of the annual reporting, a waiver of the financial surety for removal, which one was that, Connie? The buffer strips, the fencing, and thank you. The buffer strips, the utility connections, the fencing, and the annual reporting. So why don't we start with information regarding the buffer strips?
Okay. I thought we had indicated that, based on Tide's comments, that if the property that abuts it got changed, that we would provide either with the abutters or on our own the strips. Right now, it's Eversource power lines.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So, school committee is in executive right now. When I get out at 6:30, I can get the remote from Gordon. But I don't have a way to change the settings on the TV for him.
Okay, thank you.
If I'd known ahead of time, I would have had it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help. Appreciate it. Tide, was that your request?
I believe it was. If I'm wrong, let me know.
What are your thinking? Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, I did take a look at the right-of-way of the power line.
Yeah.
As it passes through Long Meadow. And and Enfield. And there are lots of places where development has taken place directly adjacent to the right-of-way. Specifically in Enfield, that whole new condo complex is it's right next to it, okay? They've got the right-of-way that they need for the towers, but the land right abutting it is being developed for condos. And there are other places as it goes across Long Meadow and Enfield where there are houses very, very close to it. So I don't see that that's something that we can say it's unlikely to happen, especially given as land becomes more scarce in town. We see houses going up right next to power lines where we never thought they would. Fernwood is a good example, or Fernwood, I should say, where we got 3 houses right next to it's a lower capacity power line, but they're like practically right under it. So I don't think that we can presume that land will never be developed.
And that's why we said if it is, we would, adopt Mr. Richard's suggestion that if it was, that the buffers would be honored.
These are all adjoining Western Mass Electric parcels?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure that it's on the record.
So, the annual reporting requirement. So I did see there was a lengthy back and forth between, I believe, Mr. Mione. Do I say that right? Mione?
Malone. It sounds like M-A-L-O,
Yeah.
but it's M-E-L-O-N-E.
Oh, okay,
Right.
sorry. I've been pronouncing it wrong, so I apologize. Okay, Malone. And Mr. Maynard representing the town. I know that our planning director has provided us with evidence of other communities that do annual reporting, so it's not something that would be out of the ordinary. Other communities are doing it specifically related to solar projects, so I don't know if, I would not be inclined to waive that, but other board members?
I think it's something that we need to do.
Yeah. And I think last time we did address the uniqueness of this project, being the first of the kind here in East Long Meadow, specifically because the other project that we approved like 2 or 3 weeks ago was in a industrial zoned area or industrial garden park that we had kind of worked hard on and other people in town had worked on. So, okay. So I John, do you have any comments on?
No, I would defer.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to understand what the town wants to do with it.
Connie?
Annual reporting?
Yeah.
like how much energy we generate. How is that a variable that the town needs to understand? That's like asking a gas station how much gas do you sell a year?
So, I don't have the bylaws in front of me, do you?
I don't.
Where it discusses annual reporting, it's under our current bylaw, something that the planning board introduced to the bylaw.
Okay.
That's what they want, that's what they wanted. I guess I would ask, why are you questioning that?
Because it's the first time of the 44 solar developments that we've constructed that have required that.
Well, more importantly, we understand what the obligation is, because whether or not it ever comes to fruition, but there is a very hefty penalty associated with this, and Mr. Maynard and I have discussed that, and that's what it is currently. So what is the annual reporting? The project's built, it's operating every year once it's built. We'd like to know from the planning board what its requirements are for this annual report.
Well, the requirements are set out.
Set out right there.
Pretty clearly. We felt, when we wrote the bylaw, that it would be necessary to monitor these facilities to make sure they're being maintained properly. Again, because we don't have a whole lot of experience with these sorts of properties, that we want to make sure that nothing is going wrong out there, that unauthorized people are not gaining access to it, that in fact it's generating electricity the way it said it was going to do. And that's why it was written the way it was.
And as our planning director has pointed out, there, the other communities that she pointed out to us, the town of Williamsburg has that, the town of Belchertown has that, our neighbor, the town of Wilbraham has that. She also cited the town of Westport, Mass. As having that. So it's not highly unusual in this circumstance if even our neighbor, to Wilbraham has it. So.
And we had no pushback on this from the other solar developer that went into the industrial park. So apparently they thought it was reasonable.
Okay.
And I think it's reasonable.
And we're not here staunchly opposed to it, we just want to understand the obligations, and I guess...
The only thing I have concern about is just the amount of energy physically generated, and where that goes, and whose data is being used on that element. I understand that you want us to keep the site up, maintain it, mow it, have operation and maintenance. There was allusion to us performing like we were supposed to. If we were to stray from some fashion of that, that's why we're putting a decommissioning bond in place. There's a financial security that sits in escrow, that if we abandon the project, that decommissioning bond is there to fix problems that might occur from that. I don't think it's something that we can't agree to, but internally, this would be the first time that we've one, had to do annual reporting, and two, had such a high penalty on a per-day basis. And we want to know exactly what needs to happen and what needs to be submitted. It does say energy production, what kind of maintenance and stuff is done, but I don't want to submit a report that is then deemed incorrect, and then all of a sudden we're starting to encounter daily fees.
I think we can certainly work with the applicant when the first report comes in, and to see whether it's what we really need, and adjust that sort of thing. It's not like we're going to expect them to send it in, we're going to mark it up with red ink and send it back to them. That's not the way we work. Okay?
I mean, we have an O&M manager that manages all 44 of our sites.
Sure.
I mean, he manages mowing, he manages access, he manages lightning strikes if they occur, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that we have to do that to keep our plant up and operating and producing income, or we're not doing our job. So from that standpoint, I'm okay with it. It's just something new that we've never had presented, and if we were to miss that for 14, 16 days, I can't see a monetary value of $1,600 associated with a report that said we mowed it 4 times this year, we cleaned a sediment basin, and we added some aggregate because there was a low spot in the road. I don't know how that constitutes a site plan review, to be honest.
And you complain about the request for the amount of electricity that's generated. I would assume that the state somehow or other knows how much energy is being generated by solar in the state, because they report that every year.
Yep.
So somebody's telling the state how much you're generating.
Okay.
What's the problem with telling us?
I don't see one.
Well, this is, since you're throwing that question out, this is site design review. How is that relevant to the site design review, how much energy they're generating?
I think the way to resolve this, you potentially have the ability to petition this board to change the language in the zoning ordinance, in the bylaw. And you could petition this board to see whether we wish to eliminate that requirement. Town council would then have a crack at it. And
Fair enough.
that's one way to do it.
Fair enough. So, I think,
But I think you're hearing from at least two of us that as of right now, we're
and
probably not going to be
you're
changing.
hearing from one of us that
Yeah.
we can move on.
Okay, good. The next item was the utility connections. So, Connie, do you want to address this one a little bit?
And just see the waiver. Thank you. Okay, so the waiver request is under section 7.5.14.3 utility connections. And the bylaw reads, all utility connections from the photovoltaic installation shall be placed underground. However, depending on appropriate soil conditions, shape and topography of the site and any requirements of the utility provider, the applicant may seek relief from this requirement from the planning board. Electrical transformers for utility interconnections may be above ground if required by the utility provider. However, placement on this site must be approved as part of its existing standard procedures. So I guess there are three operative words. One is the applicant may seek relief from this requirement from the planning board. Why are you seeking relief?
The only section that truly would be underground is at I guess what Shaker Road and I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, sorry, which would be on the far east side or the west side of the project, where we transition to the overhead interconnection with the utility line that's out on Shaker Road. The rest of our interconnection that's on the Eversource parcel is underground, as well as, everything that's connected to our transformers, switchgear, et cetera, out to the array field. We will have wiring that is adhered to the back side of the racking. That would in essence be above ground, but that's a typical standard that's done across solar facilities, across the nation. We've never built a facility with all of the string wire that's panel to panel to panel underground. It's physically almost impossible to do. That solar panel looks like the TV, it's got two leads on the back of it, and you connect a panel to the panel to the panel. You can't go from underground back up to the panel, underground back up to the panel. It just isn't something you construct in that fashion. So when it comes to things above that string level wiring, yes, it is underground. And I don't see that being an issue that we would object to. I guess if we transition to above ground at the end of the project, that may be the request that we're asking for. But I think it's something we could agree to.
Okay.
I have found that it's really helpful if you describe to the public how the energy gets from the solar panel to the transformer. And I think that if you describe where the wire is, where the utility connections go underground from that point, people will have a better idea.
Okay. Like I said, I had emailed you and said I was planning on presenting an update. I can turn to the public and explain to them exactly what happens.
Thank you.
So ultimately, when we build these solar facilities, there are several rows of racking that contain solar modules. In essence, you could assume putting solar modules in series, which means you wire one to the next, to the next, to the next. for the maximum voltage of that input to a inverter. And once those are wired in series, all of that rack is basically affixed to the solar racking, typically by zip ties or some other mechanical methods, maybe a wire tray that you could see in an unfinished roof of a building that carries telecom cables, stuff like that. So once those wires are all connected together, usually in a series of 18 to 22 modules, depending on the wattage of the modules, they are ultimately run in a home run to either an inverter, which is a string inverter, which usually accepts the input of 6 to 8 of those strings, and then that wire is basically that voltage is converted from direct current to alternating current, and then from there that's going to go underground to a large switchgear pad area. That large switchgear pad area is going to have multiple inputs from the array field. All of that is also underground. That switchgear then is ultimately takes all of those strings of solar panels and outputs to the transformer. That transformer then steps up that voltage to the interconnection voltage that you'd see typically on a three-phase wire that you're driving down the road and you see above ground. Our transformer will output that voltage and we'll go all the way out to Shaker Road in an underground fashion, and then we rise up to what is called a recloser, and that is basically a two-way switch that checks voltage, overcurrent, undercurrent, any arcs, any issues, both to protect our facility from something that happens on the grid side, and also if something arcs on our side, it protects the grid facility. So it's kind of like a one-way switch. At that point, that's when we go above ground, which is the last 20 feet, 30 feet of the facility.
Thank you.
So it sounds like from your description that you really are in compliance with the zoning bylaw. There are
Yeah.
certain points where you are above ground because that's the nature of the
But
construction.
it depends on how you tear that into that bylaw.
Right.
If you believe that our string wiring is above ground, and that violates the bylaw, then we object to it.
So
we seek a waiver.
Yeah. So I think Connie pointed out to us, the town of Williamsburg has that make every reasonable effort shall be made to every reasonable effort shall be made to place all utility connections underground, and it sounds like that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So with respect to the last waiver, would be that the fencing requirement. And it says the landscape buffer should provide a screening of the fencing. So, Connie?
Fencing. So the intent of this bylaw, as I read this, is that the view from the street is not to see a chain link fence, it's to see landscaping. So we have a landscape buffer in place, and I know you discussed what you may or may not do in the future, but the point is that right now you are abutting a residential zoning district. So as I interpret it, and I'm not speaking for the board, but I would recommend that that buffer be in place. I believe it's 25 feet. So inside of that buffer zone is where you would want to place your fence, because the folks who are passing are not really going to want to see a chain link fence that protects your infrastructure, but they really won't mind seeing trees.
Our position is that there are no folks passing by, that's why we asked for a waiver. This is deep off the road. The parties have already litigated this as the location, and as well known, the property to the south is going to be a solar farm. It's already under construction. The neighbors to the east and west and north are utilities with wire lines running through it, and there's no roads to pass by, and there's no neighbors to see. If it changes, we've agreed that we would accommodate either with the people who change it or combination. I've talked to town council about this, that,
So how can that be enforced?
What should be enforced?
So that if things change and there are houses built on that residential property, that you then make the
I think it
changes?
could go in the site design review decision.
As a condition?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put it in as a condition.
So other board members on the fencing requirement?
Are you on the fence on it, or are you?
So one part of the presentation that I plan to give everyone is the main change that we made to the civil documents that were submitted were to adhere to DPW's request. We submitted back in October a full set of civil drawings as well as a hydrology report. That hydrology report referenced to the fact that runoff is basically a net zero increase given the small amount of impervious that we have on the site. DPW reviewed that and stated a request that they would like to see ponding. We've incorporated ponding into the facility. I had our engineers look at earthwork balance, look at site layout, and the revision that we made incorporated the ponding that DPW asked for. I understand that there aren't comments yet from DPW, and but that is the major change that we made into the plans.
That's pretty much the only major.
That is the only change, major change.
So you had to appear in front of the Conservation Commission.
We
That is
did.
correct.
2
So
weeks
what
ago.
were the results of that?
On January
January.
9th, sorry, July. I wasn't even here in July, so.
You might have
They
been.
made a RDA that the wetland was non-jurisdictional. It was under the 5,000 foot threshold, and we have a letter from the town stating that.
So, we're to the point where we can take, I'd like to take individual votes on each waiver that's requested, and/or we have not yet, as indicated in this email from Mr. Christensen, they had not a chance to review the submitted plans. Oh, one thing prior to. So did we remove the town of Spencer and put in the town of East Long Meadow?
I hope so. I didn't personally do it, but I hope they did.
That's probably my error.
Well, we want to make sure that's
I
correct.
don't want to, sometimes we try not to reinvent the wheel.
I hear you.
That was requested.
Yeah, okay. Actually, surprisingly, I was through the town of Spencer last Thursday, so.
Okay.
I think I like the town of East Long Meadow a little better than town of Spencer. So.
Well, I'm glad of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough to beat that Trappist Brewery, though.
Yeah, that's true.
We won't ask you why you were there.
No, I wasn't there, but, so we can either take individual votes on the waivers this evening, or we wait until the final comments, and I would like to just have this done and completed and fully voted on no later than our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, which would be February 5th, and that, February 4th, February 4th, and that we don't extend this any longer than that.
I'd agree with that.
Would you all agree on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question to the
Yes,
chair.
sir.
At that time, can I make comment? Because I do have some comments.
I believe you can make comments if you're sitting in the audience as a member of the public.
But at
because
the next meeting, I can't make comment at that either?
I believe it's the next one.
Okay, because I think that's,
He
You
can
can
make
make
comments,
comment
he
now,
can't-
you
he
just
can't vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you
Okay.
can make a comment.
my question is in, regarding the buffer, are you looking for relief from the fencing also, or just from the buffer part of it?
The facility has to be screened by law, so
Okay, so
it's gonna be screened.
that's what I was getting at,
Yes,
okay,
yeah,
all
it's
right,
just,
so that-
it's the, I guess, the view screening that they're looking for through the
Okay.
fencing.
And you would like to go along with having that as a stipulation in the final plans, that if it does get developed, that you will come back. and
Oh, no,
put
that's a
the buffer.
requirement. We've agreed to that. We submitted fencing.
No, not fencing, the buffer part.
Oh, the buffer, yes,
Yeah, the
yes.
buffer part. So you would be agreeing
We had
to
a
that?
dialogue with Mr. Richards last time. I think we said it again in our
So if it could be a
responses.
condition, that's fine with me.
Yeah, if it ever changes, that we would work it out with the abutters on that type of buffer.
And my comment, I went to school for solar, so I know just what they're talking about. I know how to wire the whole thing. And the above-ground attachment between panel to panel, array to array is completely the way it's done. Doesn't go under and up and under and up. It goes from one to the next to the next. And completely secured to the back of the unit properly. And they have to get an inspection anyway, so. But that's standard.
So Connie, would we be, I can never say 100% sure, but we would be relatively sure that Mr. Christensen would have reviewed the revised plans provided any comments back to the petitioner by our February 4th meeting.
I would think he would be able to do so. Generally, he turns things around fairly quickly, but again, given the Friday submittal, the holiday weekend, and today being the meeting, he was not able to address.
Well, I think I would also like you to perhaps just stress the importance to the planning board that we, take some action on this proposal at our February 4th meeting so that any comments that he has get forwarded to petitioners and all this is taken care of. And the other back and forth between, I guess, you and Mr. Maynard.
Yes, we've had some dialogue.
Can be resolved and
Right.
can be forwarded to the planning board members beforehand so that there is nothing else for us to consider and that it's all done and we can vote at that time.
So with that said, some of the comments were also, would it be prudent to have a third-party engineer review our engineer's hydraulic report? I want to make sure that that doesn't come up at next planning meeting, given that a hydrology report has been in the town's hands for quite some time. We did update it to just show the amount of storage that we're including, and it's significantly higher than what's required off the runoff, but Public Works doesn't have the ability to review a hydrology report, and I don't want it to be a new piece that presents itself to continue the project.
I heard you.
Okay.
It really shouldn't be because there isn't much we're dealing with here. I mean, there's no parking lots, there's no buildings, there's nothing, and everything goes right off the panel into the ground.
Yeah.
What's the access? Is it gonna be gravel? As the other
Yes,
one is?
gravel.
And that goes all the way down and around?
Other than some concrete,
Yeah, I
there's
mean, in
almost no
essence-
impervious surface.
So, this
I used
blue
to pick apples
project,
at that orchard when I was a kid.
yep, this blue project is currently under construction, that's
Right.
3 megawatts. Siting council has approved up to 8 here. We're in essence just gonna continue that roadway into where the road is.
Okay. So that's going south to north right there?
That is correct,
Right.
north is up. And then this is the state line.
Okay, I got
So
you.
when we purchased the parcel, that was included.
You do realize it's different, you usually require frontage and things like that, and it's a little different for the planning board and for the town. It's access from another state into a property.
Well, yes, I was gonna say, welcome, but.
I know that,
yeah.
I've been hearing about it as
Yeah.
it goes along, so just to let you know, it would be the same with me.
Before we vote, do you want to open it up to the public?
So before that,
Yeah.
which I will, I specifically asked 6 questions, and I wish to applaud Mr. Martin for your thoroughness and very good job in responding, and I.
Could you say that louder, please?
I just did.
Yeah, thank you.
It's kind of hard.
Some of my work in there.
Yes, yeah.
Come out, and I appreciate you doing it and being very informative, so thank you very much.
Thank you for saying that. We try our best.
Yeah.
Extremely helpful.
If there's anyone in the audience who'd like to address this issue?
If I may, through the chair.
Sure.
You got a copy of the staff comment that I sent?
Yeah.
And on sheet C300, C301, C302, C303, and C304, you're referencing the notice of intent and order of conditions. I want to change that note to RDA.
Okay.
Because sometime in the future,
Yep.
when someone is looking at this plan, they'll be looking for
An
the
NOI.
order of conditions.
Yeah.
So just make those minor changes and it'll be good for the future.
Yeah, and you have a copy of the, obviously you created the Conservation Commission and we have it, so the determination, negative determination.
Thank you very much.
If anyone in the audience would like to address the board on this, feel free to. Okay. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Your pleasure.
I would suggest we vote on the waivers, since the DPW report doesn't really affect the waivers, per se.
So we can vote on each individual waiver and then at our next meeting, vote on the overall
Yeah.
approval of the site plan.
Yeah.
DPW stuff has nothing to do with it.
Since we discussed all the waivers tonight,
By the way, do you want a motion now regarding the DPW to extend for 2 more weeks, or wait till we vote on the waiver?
Let's do the waivers first.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So for the first, thank you. So the first waiver regarding Article 7.512 buffer strips. So do I have a motion to waive, I'm saying that correctly, waive the requirement?
I'll make a motion to waive the requirement, subject to a provision in the site plan approval, that if the adjacent properties are developed, the buffer strip will have to be installed.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
So motion made and second. Any discussion? So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone say nay? Hearing none, so that. Second item, Article 7.514.3 utility connections.
My understanding is that as presented, the plan meets that requirement already?
Connie?
Yes.
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 Yep, okay.
So there's no need to waive that.
Okay.
Okay. But since it was requested, I'll make a motion to waive.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Hearing none? We have a nay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 3-1.
Okay.
Okay. Article 7.5.15.3 fencing.
Again, I'll make a motion similar to the previous one to approve it, subject to there being a provision in the site plan approval that if adjacent properties are developed, the fence will be moved back inside the new buffer strip.
So motion made, do I hear second?
Second.
Motion made and second, any discussion?
No, I just gotta see how.
Aren't they gonna engineer it like that anyway? You put it where it belongs the first time?
No, they're not.
No? So hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Hearing none, so that passes. Article 7.5.16.2 annual reporting. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Although I don't agree with
Yep.
waiving it.
And do I have a second for discussion reasons?
I'll second that as
So
well.
a motion made and seconded.
Wait, okay, no. We're approving to eliminate the annual reporting.
That's the motion
That's
that was
what the
made.
motion
That's
is.
what the motion is.
Right.
So if
So
you
is there any
don't,
discussion?
yeah,
Right.
the only discussion I have is if you don't want to eliminate it, you vote nay.
Right.
Right, right.
More of an instruction than it is.
Well, it's
In a
confusing
discussion.
sometimes.
It is. And I hate, that's the worst ones I hate those.
I know, but that's
So.
the way it's supposed to be done.
Any discussion? Okay. So a yes vote is you waive the annual reporting requirement. A nay is it remains in place, the requirement.
Right.
So all in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, that does not pass. So we made some progress.
Understood.
Made some progress. So then I need a motion to continue until.
Mr. Chairman, could
Yes,
I make
yes.
an inquiry through the board to you, Ms. Broaders? Other than the DPW comments,
No promises, Mr. Martin.
no, I'm not asking for promises.
No promises.
Not a promises, I'm asking information. As far as the department and the board is concerned, has the applicant submitted everything that is required?
So no promises on that.
Well,
So-
do we,
Waiting on the escrow and the decommission. That's under review by town's attorney. The draft escrow agreement.
I understand, I'm looking for a statement from the department and the plan that we have submitted everything that we have been asked to and is required. Whether or not you are holding back on a review or decision is something else. I don't want to receive any communications on February 3rd or 4th, oh, we would like this, we'd like an updated plan, we would like this. if there's something that, I mean, this has been in the works for a long time, if there's something that we haven't done, I'd like to know about it, so if we can address it
Well,
in time.
It's not been as long as your last project that you were here before us, so.
My client takes little solace in that, but eventually that was approved.
To the best of my knowledge, the best of my understanding, which I hate that phrase, but the best of my understanding, I am not aware of any additional information that is needed.
Okay,
And
that's
I will leave-
helpful.
I will leave it at that.
That is helpful. And if there is, we would like to know about it right away.
Absolutely.
So, do we have a motion to continue to our meeting on February 4th?
So moved.
Make the motion. Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. A motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Hearing none. Great progress was made.
I won't be able to be here.
We'll miss
You guys gonna miss me?
You won't answer that question,
That's fair.
No, I think it's all good. We learned a lot from you.
I wish I could have presented, but in general, we're trying our best.
As are we.
So that, did you say February 4th?
Yep.
Oh, I can't make it.
Yeah, I got
My
it.
sister's got, my daughter's got a gymnastics in Arizona.
Okay, Kelly, I may have to be in touch with you about that,
Okay.
because
Just
he's
get
not
yourself-
here.
Come back
I can make that.
Huh?
I can make it. I just got to fly from here to Arizona.
Okay.
Really?
Ah, where are you going to Arizona?
My daughter is a gymnast, and there is a big gymnastics tournament in Phoenix on the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
So I.
Good luck to her.
Former resident of Arizona.
Call the
What's
next
that?
item.
From Arizona.
Gotcha.
Case SD-P 2019-01, Shelby and Silver Fox Lanes, request by applicant for preliminary subdivision approval for 2-lot subdivision on 3.81 plus or minus acre site located at Shelby Lane and 14 Silver Fox Lane, assessors parcel ID 65-16-5 in the residential zoning A district. Applicant is Gillespie Coppola and Vanessa Coppola, 14 Silver Fox, East Long Meadow, Mass. It's continued from December 17th. I'm sorry about the name.
That's okay.
So,
Probably have
Both the same?
one's in the NR, one's preliminary,
so like we did just from the last item, just to kind of refresh our memory, Connie. So from our last meeting to now, so can you tell us what has taken place? Can you just send that down?
So we've been waiting for a full set of documents, and any documents that are going to be presented or prepared by the applicant require a waiver. Mr. Capello was provided with the site plan checklist for submittal, the waiver form, and this is what we received. A sheet that shows a preliminary subdivision and a sheet that shows an A&R. So the deliverables have not been provided.
Okay.
The reason why we're able to provide, because after I had my meeting with the Department of Public Works, I was informed that they were very much against granting the waiver, even so that I understand that it's not up to the Department of Public Works, it's up to the planning board. I was looking for some guiding to find out which way the board would like me to proceed. So in turn, what I did, I prepared the 3 separate plans. An A&R, which originally we were anticipating to do that, and according to the Department of Public Works, an A&R works for them because that way they don't have to do, what I did, there's 3 separate plans, and this one's up here, you might take a look at it. The first one in the page will be the A&R, which it basically shows that we do have the requirement, minimum 20 feet, that where the board could possibly waive. The board has the option to waive under Article Section 81R. the frontage. And also the board has the right to waive under chapter 41, section 81L, the legal requirement for frontage. What I'm looking for, and I'd be more than happy to provide the board with anything that you need, but I need to get some guiding, because if we're gonna prepare all the documentation for a subdivision approval, and then not getting, based on what I conversation with the Department of Public Works, not getting the waivers, then it would be wasted everybody's time. So my goal is not to fight the board, my goal is to work with the board on telling me what you want me to do, and I'd be more than happy to provide that. The reason why we feel that the A&R is the best possible way, it's for many reasons. One, will it not interfere with the look of the subdivision at this point. Two, will not create any additional stormwater, which there was already a discussion with the people, the farm behind. And three, we have if we do create a subdivision, now we have an approximately 100 square feet, 100 linear feet of additional road, which is the town has to maintain it and plow. By doing A&R, all this goes away, and it's not irregular, because what's happening is that particular road that we have there now, the driveway, was servicing Shelby Lane before, and all the utilities are there. So it's not where we are creating a problem there. We're trying to eliminate a problem. And if we do build a cul-de-sac right after cul-de-sac, it will really look horrible. You will have two huge pieces of cement or asphalt, one after another. And now we have to deal with the water, and we have to deal with the plowing. By allowing A&R, all this goes away. And it is unless I read the section wrong, it is my understanding that the board has the power to either allow us to do an A&R and waive the frontage, or allow us to do an actual subdivision and waive the building of the cul-de-sac. Under the bylaws, you have what I'm saying, you is the board previously has already approved other areas where the frontage has been on one street and the driveway has been another. There is two lot in the subdivision in town where the frontage, even so it was required to be minimum of 20 feet, one of them is less than 20 feet that was granted. We have 32 feet. So I think that we have the requirements, the minimum requirements, and we have the ability, or the board has the ability to make this do the right way, which created no problem. All the neighbors from Shelby Lane and Silver Fox, at the last meeting, there was no opposition whatsoever. So based on that, I think that the A&R is the right way to do it. And not the only reason why I didn't provide all the documentation that was originally requested is simply because I don't know what to provide the board.
So if I just may clarify, Carmen, I don't think you understand the purpose of the waiver petition. So there's a form.
Yes.
And what you do is you're going to ask the board for relief from certain articles and sections of subdivision regulations. So you've brought in one sheet of paper. Plan sets consists of, there can be 12 sheets of plans.
Right.
So that's the waiver. So what you're supposed to do is take a look at that list and say, I'd like a waiver from this plan sheet. I'm going to say lighting, I'm just going to use lighting right now. Okay. And you haven't done that. And that's part of the application process. And the reason it's done this way is because if Mr. Smith comes in and he has a subdivision and we just the planning board just lets him go by or makes a stronger request, seemingly a stronger request in comparison, Mr. Smith is going to say, but you didn't make Mr. Capua do that. So in fairness to all, it's just paperwork.
I understand, Connie.
You just don't want to spend the money and the time unless you have some guidance from us.
I want some guidance, that's all I'm asking for.
Okay.
I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
You know, if you said to me,
Yeah.
I think the board, and I'm not asking for an answer, because obviously you can't give me an answer.
Right.
But if the board says to me, I think we'd like to see an A&R. Now I know that I have to do the A&R paperwork, and I have to present you with all the waivers. But if I present you the paperwork for the A&R, and the board says, no, you have to do a subdivision, now everything that I present to the board is wrong. So I'm just looking for guiding. I know that I have certain rules I have to follow. I'm not trying to deviate from there. I'm simply trying to bring the board
Okay.
what you like me to
So we
bring.
can give you guidance.
Okay.
You know, we can say what our individual thoughts are, and then you can take that as you see fit and move forward.
That's great.
How's that?
That's perfect.
Is that good? George, do you wanna start?
Well, I see that the plans with streets, new streets on them are really convoluted and not at all aesthetically interesting.
No, not at all.
I think that in this case, an A&R might be appropriate, and I think that they have access. So assuming we do have the right to waive that frontage, I would consider that favorably myself.
So you would consider, your opinion would be, you believe an A&R is the right approach to
In this particular case, yeah, I do. I know we gotta be really careful about precedents and all that kind of thing. Okay, I'm very well aware of that.
Are you aware of other similar circumstances in town? That something like this has been done?
Not since I've been on the board.
And how long has that been?
It's been 12 years now.
Okay, so if I may respond to that, because I was in the office when the discussion was going on between Mr. Capua and the DPW. If an A&R is recommended, the road standards still must be brought, the road still must be brought up to the standards of construction. So it's not going to be a driveway, it's going to be a road, because he doesn't have a road.
Built to town specs.
Built to town specs?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where the disconnect occurred, because Mr. Capua proposed a gravel access.
Okay.
Okay.
Tied?
When you're talking about a variance in the frontage, how much are we talking about?
Right now, we have a 32 feet frontage, that it's serviced 18 Shelby Lane for a very long time. And the frontage was originally at the cul-de-sac of Shelby Lane. Now, the house that was originally there, 18 Shelby Lane, which sits all the way back on that, now it's considered 14 Silver Fox. Because when we built the Silver Fox, we transferred that address for Silver Fox. Once again, I can create the frontage. What I'm asking is that the board will consider it waiving the construction of the frontage for the simple reason is it will look horrible. And when I go to my neighbors, you know, both on Silver Fox and Shelby Lane, and propose to create another cul-de-sac on top of a cul-de-sac, I don't feel comfortable. At this point, if that's what I'm forced to do, I believe that I much more prefer not constructing a house there than having neighbors disappointed and upset at me. That's my feeling, you know, because it just doesn't look right. And if it doesn't look right, I mean, I understand we all want to get extra lots. I get it. But I'm been a developer for 20 years, and one of my goals is to make sure that the property looks right. That's one of my most important. If I put my name on it, I want them to look right. And I think that the NR will look right. And the board does, then I think
Once
the board-
again, back to my question, how much of a variance are we talking about for the frontage? Feet?
Right now, I have 32 feet, that's all I have, a frontage, a legal frontage.
And this is A or double A? This is
I believe it's A, right,
So the requirement on frontage for A is what, 100?
140,
140.
correct,
And he's got 30,
Yeah,
correct,
and he wants a variance off of that.
yeah.
right. Well,
No, he wants.
No, variance, so he can keep the
variance
30.
To the 30, yeah. So you, that's
I mean,
110 feet.
that's a 100 feet.
That's a lot.
I certainly understand that, but when we look at the other, another
I
subdivision,
mean,
there was,
that almost eliminates the whole requirement altogether.
and that's one of the reasons why I say to the board, I'd be more than happy to create the frontage. I have the frontage, as you can see, I can create the frontage of Shelby Lane, a Silver Fox. I just don't feel that it's fair to construct that, because if we built that, it's not gonna look right.
Yeah, but what you're doing is like anyone puts a big bump in the road just to get frontage. I mean, that doesn't, I mean, unless I don't misunderstand what you're saying, it sounds like what you're saying is, well, I build a cul-de-sac so I have more frontage so I can qualify. Well, anybody can just build a road, hey, we need to put a big bump here so we get more frontage, right?
Let me ask Jonathan, do you have?
Well, I think the idea of putting in another cul-de-sac, I would agree, kind of would look not correct.
Well, of course
in this
not.
neighborhood,
But either way-
but this might, but I also am not obviously comfortable with the idea maybe of, or I'm not at this, I would be very uncomfortable with the idea of a variance of over 100 feet as well. But it sounds like that might be the only option. I'm not saying that's where we should go.
Or
but-
maybe you just can't do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not talking like a 2 or 3 feet, or 10 feet even, you're
Or
talking
even, or
over
even like,
100
or even
feet.
50. I mean, it's double than that.
I mean, I think that
So,
sets a precedent
yeah.
throughout the rest of the town, when every other developer is gonna be sitting saying, hey, this guy got a 100-foot variance, I like one too.
Let me say this, what I have seen happen in town, okay, is where there is a cul-de-sac now, and somebody wants to extend the street, and this has happened around the corner from me on Pilgrim, and it's happened another location that I can't immediately recall, okay? What has happened is they've eliminated the original cul-de-sac and basically moved it downstream, okay? So you don't have 2 cul-de-sacs. The lots that are on the cul-de-sac have sufficient frontage without the cul-de-sac.
Okay, so, but that's a completely different story. What you're saying is, which is what I'm saying is, I don't wanna bump in the road every 10 feet just to get more frontage. And what you're saying is, in that case, you're talking about, if the cul-de-sac was eliminated, they still had enough frontage to qualify. All they did was move the cul-de-sac further down.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with that.
And, you know, they would need the agreement of the people on the cul-de-sac to either accept the land.
And it's gotta go away, be cleaned up, and be a straight road, it can't be
Yeah.
just a bump in the road.
Yeah, you know, but that has been done in the past, okay?
But that didn't require a variance, because everyone
Right.
still ended up with the proper
Everyone
amount of
got-
frontage.
got the right
And this is what
frontage.
we're saying that he's gonna have to do here.
Yeah, so if he were to eliminate this cul-de-sac, okay, which I know can happen, and then move it downstream so that he's got the frontage he needs on the cul-de-sac.
Then he doesn't need the variance.
Then he doesn't need the variance,
Right.
okay? And I think the DPW would probably be happy with that.
So what's wrong with that?
I don't see anything wrong with it, except
Right.
it's a bigger construction project.
Well, yeah, I know, but you just can't have,
I know.
you
But
know.
it changes the placement of all your easements and everything. If you make this a straight line down to a cul-de-sac down here, everybody's lot size changes, all this drainage work is
It's
different at that point.
Financially, it just doesn't it doesn't work.
But if the project doesn't financially work, it doesn't work. But I mean, we just can't keep giving variances to everyone just to, you know, to make things comfortable for them. I mean, you're talking about a 100-foot variance at least.
It does create a pork chop lot, which is what
we're trying
not to do.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, at this time, so this is a public hearing, so I wanna open it up to the public. And if there are people who wish to address this issue, please come forward and tell us what your thoughts are on this.
Just come down like this and bring the lot
Yes,
up
sir.
like that, and have this a driveway off the end of the cul-de-sac.
Good evening, Ralph Page, 306 Prospect Street. I have not been able to see the plans, but it sounds like there's a cul-de-sac and he wants to put another one. Dearborn Extension had something very similar to this. The cul-de-sac was allowed to stay, but what they did is they loamed and seeded it so that they could extend off of it to another cul-de-sac. So that way there it didn't adjust anyone's frontage or anything, because on paper, the original cul-de-sac is still there. It's not maintained as asphalt. Most of it is lawn, so that if you drive down the road, you never see it. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's something that works. My concern is typically when you put the cul-de-sac in, you do it because you need frontage around the cul-de-sac for the properties. If you're getting rid of that cul-de-sac, then is there enough frontage on those properties for it?
There is, because the one property that would be affected actually has insufficient frontage on Silver Fox Lane. Okay, it's got 140 feet on Silver Fox.
Okay.
So they're legal, okay? And yeah, you're right. Whether or not you adjust the lot lines, it would make more sense to simply fill in the cul-de-sac and move it downstream. That would,
Because it qualifies anyway, so what's the difference? I
Yeah.
mean, cosmetically it looks better, you save a lot of legal work and
Right.
you know, changing it, and everyone's got proper permanent frontage anyways.
Yeah.
But if you move the cul-de-sac down, that's all downhill. My brother developed Shelby Lane, and that's his old house right there. It's all downhill, the water pool's down there. Used to be a problem for him, so if you've put all your structures in, thinking that the water was gonna stop here, and now it stops down here, you've got a problem with your
Well,
drainage.
yeah, but he's gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, but I
When we
mean,
get into
that's-
site plan review, he's gonna have to
that's a major-
come
that's a
back
major
and figure
thing.
that out. And that's gonna be another issue he's gonna
Yeah,
have.
that is an issue.
Right.
Because that's all state regulated.
But we may
That's-
not even get to that point.
We still have a speaker in front of us.
And then one other point is, it's my understanding on an A&R, that an A&R requires frontage, the correct amount of frontage. The only way to waive that is not through an A&R, but through subdivision control law. I do not believe on an A&R that you can waive frontage. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board on this specific issue? Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. So you're seeking a kind of general consensus, is what you're doing. You're not
Right.
seeking an action from the board.
No, I'm not.
No, I will reverse myself and say that I don't, having looked at it a little more carefully, I don't think waiving the frontage is appropriate in this case, because it does create the pork chop lot. That's not what we're looking for.
Okay.
I really think that for emergency services and everything else, it ought to be on a street.
So, okay. So saying that, is there advice for the petitioner on, because I'm quite honestly confused, but.
Well, my advice would be for a petitioner to work with DPW to come up with a plan that's acceptable to the town.
But it's gonna be a street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the most, to me, as I said, the most logical thing to do is to fill in the cul-de-sac and put a single cul-de-sac at the end.
Right.
Move it down.
Move it down.
Move it downstream. I mean, that's the most logical
But
thing to
then
do.
the cul-de-sac has to have be able to have a radius large enough for a fire engine to turn around
Yeah,
into,
right.
and I don't see that happening right here. Look at the size of this, and look at the size of what's gonna happen down here. You're gonna use up a lot of the lot trying to make this,
He's got a big lot back here.
yeah, I know, but you're gonna have to come down here, and that's a lot.
Well,
Well, it's up
that's,
to him to
it's a
decide.
lot.
that's for the
That's for you to
petitioner to
decide.
deal with.
So, I think probably, so you've heard the opinions of the board, hopefully it's been helpful. So, I think what we would want to do, you might want to consider, is withdrawing the current petition in front of the planning board, and then starting anew, based upon what you've heard from the planning board. So we can have a motion to withdraw without prejudice, which means there's no negative impact based upon your withdrawing it. But that's up to you. We can do it tonight, or if you want some time to think about it, we can continue this matter at a future planning board meeting.
What I'd like to do, if the board is okay with it, continue for 30 days.
Okay.
Taking consideration what we talked about it, I would like to speak with the town councils to see the petition for a possible, I don't know if we want to call it a pork chop lot, I don't know if we want to call them because we do realize that not only East Long Meadow, but every town in the area has a problem with housing. And I also understand that if there is land that if it doesn't work, statically doesn't work, looks bad, then I get it. But in this particular case, and I'm sure that there are some other cases in town, where I think it would be appropriate to change, and again, I understand the board as a bylaws and as a policy to follow, I get it. You know, to possibly change some laws, you know, where it's a possibility of this happening, because truly, when you have, you know, 4 acres of land, and you're looking to put something, one single unit, there should be some sort of a consideration, should be a way, and if it's done properly, it should be a way to consider it, regardless if it's a waiver from the board, which I know the board has done it before, not to the extent of what I'm asking.
Right.
I understand, but you know, or also, you know, try to petition the town to make some sort of a change in the policy.
Thank you. So do we have a motion to continue the hearing till our February 18th meeting?
Yes, for 30 days. Yeah, okay, February 18th,
yeah. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second to continue the public hearing until February 18th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none.
Thank you.
All set. Thank you.
Okay, case MT-SP 2019-12, massage therapist facility, request by applicant for special permit for a massage therapist facility at 45 Crane Ave, assessors parcel ID 27-24-A-1, an existing structure known as Health Price Fitness and Wellness, and consisting of 19,004 plus or minus square feet, located in 1.84 plus or minus acres lot in the business zoning district. Applicant is Adrian,
How are you?
thank you.
Boyaji.
I lost my spot. 45 Crane Ave, East Long Meadow, Mass. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
Sorry.
I know there's a couple of Health Tracks members sitting at the table, so potential future customers as we move forward.
So do those guys want to recuse themselves?
Yeah. So tell us about what your plans are.
Planning to do massage therapy, body work, energy work, stretching,
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Which office?
It's actually gonna be in the yoga studio on the side entrance by where the gated pool is.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good, okay. I know where that is, okay.
And we have the licenses and stuff?
Yep.
Yep, everything's in
Okay.
order? Okay. So it is a public hearing, so I'll open it to the public. If there's anyone who wants to speak with regard to this matter. Hearing none, I hear a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
So a motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none. I'll take it back to the board for approval. A motion to approve.
So made.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to approve this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none. It's approved.
Thank you. Good. Case SP 2019-14, 64 Maple Street, request by applicant for a special permit for a carry-out restaurant at 64 Maple Street, assessors parcel ID 27-9-0, an existing structure known as a historical train depot consisting of 800 plus or minus square feet located in 3.08 plus or minus acres, the business zoning district. The applicant is Stephen Graham, 35 Industrial Drive, East Long Meadow, Mass.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sounds like some exciting plans. Why don't you tell the board what you have in mind?
Well, we're gonna take that parcel that has had an interesting couple years associated with it and turn it into something very nice. The plan is to try to keep the historical nature of the train depot intact and turn it into technically a takeout restaurant, but an ice cream shop. We will comply with all the building codes that are needed. We're going to rebuild the ramp that was originally around the building as close to the design that it was as possible, again, complying with the new building codes. And see if we can just turn it into a delightful spot for the town.
Do you, what do you anticipate your season to be? You're gonna open year-round? What are your proposed hours of operation? Because it is kind of a quiet area there and it's used for recreation, so have you given some of that some thought?
On my application, I believe I put the hours from 7 a.m. to 9.
Trying to let the public know. Yeah, we're being televised, so let the public know, so.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the hours, because I want the flexibility to perhaps serve coffee and donuts and Danish in the morning, and maybe lunch at a later date, and so I wanted the maximum flexibility with regard to hours. From a seasonal standpoint, I don't know how many people would buy ice cream tonight, but the hours will, the timeframe will probably be April to the end of September, approximately. We have, this year, we certainly won't be open in April. Our goal is to get the project, if it is approved, off the ground as fast as possible. And although my wife doesn't think so, we'd like to open in June of this year. So that is essentially the plan. We're going to take the entire parcel, clean it up, and landscape it. The section that the train depot is on is about 0.6 acres, and that will contain, again, within the bylaws, outdoor picnic tables and a little area for kids who are in strollers or maybe a little bigger to roam around and enjoy themselves. So that is the plan.
Parking.
I'm sorry?
And parking.
And parking.
You're gonna need some parking.
Yes. Well, we have, the plan currently contains some paved parking that remains from when there was a gift shop in place. And we're going to leave that paved park, we're going to leave all the pavement that exists today. There was a gift house in the front, and that will also be part of the parking area. So I think we'll have plenty of parking in the front area, but if not, we still have approximately 2.4 acres in the back to work with as well.
So I'll ask the board if there are any questions of the petitioner before we open it to the public.
I have a few.
Okay.
Because I haven't been here. I have a question for George first. If they put more macadam in, which is impervious, what do they have to do with the runoff? Do they have to make a provision for that?
If they modify the impervious, you're gonna have to do a stormwater management plan. Okay, I think you're aware of that.
Yeah.
My feeling is, I mean, I love the idea, okay, and I think special permit is appropriate. I think at some point, I'm gonna wanna see a site plan.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, because I know your plans are not fully done yet, but I would like to see a site plan that shows what you're gonna do with the rest of it, because I know you've probably got big ideas for it, and things may not be settled yet. But even for the station, I think we need a site plan that shows how much parking is there and that it meets the requirements of the bylaw for parking. Okay, that's separate from the special permit. And no, not to hold you up, because, but I think we need that, so we have it on record.
We just went through that with the first really kind of takeout place on North Main Street a couple months ago.
Yeah, they haven't done anything yet.
They have a sign up.
I was telling Steve,
Okay.
give me a little visual when I turn in off of Maple Street. What am I gonna look at? It's gonna be over here still, landscape, you're gonna have parking, you're gonna have, tar put down or gravel, and at the end where do you own where Community Feed used to be? Do you own part of that?
We are happy to say that as of last week, we own the whole parcel.
You own the whole parcel?
Congratulations.
You bought the whole thing?
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So the whole parcel will be landscaped, the whole parcel will be attractive. It'll take a little time, but the whole thing back to the,
Are you gonna submit plans that show possible expansion in the future? Because me personally, as Pete Henderson, I like the idea of something going in there that services the community and is attractive and viable compared to what has been offered there before. So, I'm not against anything, I'd like to see it happen, but I'm a visual type of guy. I wanna see some plans and see that when you walk in, it's gonna be this nice, display of what you have to offer, and something that's comfortable and is correct. And then if you wanna do things in the future, I'll make sure that there's the proper plans put in place there for, future expansion, whatever, because you can do more than that there.
right, right,
So that's what I would like to see.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna open to the public. If anyone from the public has comments on this, please step forward.
Hi, good evening, folks. Marilyn Richards, 342 Pinehurst, also town councilor. I think this is wonderful to have this opportunity to rehab a historical structure that we've been concerned about for quite a while in terms of its future. That being said, as a former planning board member, George, you brought up the issue of site plan, and obviously, I see things going that direction. I'm a little bit confused about, okay, tonight is a special permit for the use. And assuming that Mr. Graham gets permission from the board to move forward, does he then come back with a site plan, or does he start to rehab the building to move ahead with those kinds of issues? I'm just wondering about what we as residents can expect so that we can be supportive all the way. But thank you very much, I really appreciate it.
Connie, you want to address that?
So concurrently, you could have submitted the site plan review application this evening. But I do note from the zoning determination, it only called for a special permit. So I believe what you are doing is taking this one step at a time. You wanted to get all of your land ownership issues of concern in order. You're here for the special permit, hoping that the special permit will be approved, and then you'll come back with a site plan application showing us how you're going to make improvements to the site, the lined parking. I know you gave us a plan of land, but show us a little bit more level of detail. If you're going to do landscaping, perhaps you'll bring in some colors. Show us what you're going to paint it, if you're going to use the same colors, materials, and any other ideas that you have to enhance that particular site. Is that what you're?
It's really no different than any other project. You want to make sure that the use is okay before you go ahead with anything else, obviously, so.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly, please stand.
When you say that, can he start renovating the train depot without having to come back here?
I don't see any reason why he couldn't go ahead and start on the train depot if he owns it and he's got the building permits to do it,
And
okay?
how about the grounds, the same thing with the grounds, clean it up and do whatever?
Yeah,
You
that,
don't need a permit for any of that?
no. What we were looking for, in fact, I'm super happy it's gonna get cleaned up because we have promises and promises and promises from the previous owner that never were fulfilled. What I'm saying is that for the business, okay, we need a site plan that at least shows the parking, okay, and that you're meeting the parking requirements, that you've got a handicap space and all that other stuff that you have to do. And we have a record on paper then of what you're planning on doing with the site. So that if at some point in the future, let's say it's a big site, somebody comes to you and says, gee, I want to put a restaurant there, not a real restaurant, I mean, or I want to put a retail store there, because there's plenty of room for all of that. Then that's a change to the site plan, and so we refile the site plan with the new plans on it. But I think we need a site plan that shows that you're going to meet just shows where the parking is going to be and what the access is going to be.
All the setbacks and all that.
So that the police department can look at it and say, yes, this meets our requirements for sight lines, where the driveway is, that sort of thing.
Fire department could get in access the property without any problem.
No drive-through window, all that kind of stuff.
But everything that's built on the final plan, when it gets submitted and it's in the records, everything has to be located. All your setbacks, the building, where your utilities are run, everything that's in the ground, out of the ground, so that when somebody comes along, there's a problem, a fire or some sort of other problem, you go, this is where things are. So that's, would be a requirement.
Sure.
So is anyone else like to address this issue? Mr. Page?
Of course. Ralph Page, 306 Prospect Street. I just want to say, I think this is fantastic. Long time coming. I wish you the best. I can't wait to see it. I know you'll do a great job with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
And you're not planning on moving the building at all, right? It's gonna stay where it is?
No, the document that you have is the site plan.
Okay.
With the parking. Everything's gonna remain as is. There will be no major changes.
Yeah.
Except for the attractiveness of it and the landscaping of it. But the paved parking that's in place right now, that's on the site plan, is gonna stay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other members of the public want to address?
Yes, my name is Mark Sullivan, 51 East Village Road. I just want to say that this is a no-brainer. Steve actually shared his plans with me a couple of weeks ago in casual conversation, shared it with some other residents of East Long Meadow. And I know you guys have your formalities to go through, and I think that from the majority of the people in this town say you guys should jump through hoops to make this happen.
Okay. Any other members of the public want to address this issue? Hearing none, I'll bring it back.
I think you're gonna get busy personally. That's what I think.
So,
I think it's a busy place.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
A motion to close the public hearing, do I have a second? Second. Motion made in second, all in favor to close the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay, so the public hearing is closed. Do I hear a motion on this
I
item?
will move to approve the special permit for 64 Maple Street for the takeout restaurant.
For the use.
For the use. For the use. Yep. Do I have a second?
Second.
So motion been made and seconded to approve the special permit with respect to the use of the property. So, any discussion?
My only point is that we really do need a formal site plan.
Yep. Yep. And you can work with Connie. Yeah, that's, so.
It's just money.
Yeah. Hearing no other discussion, and a motion been made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, passes.
Good luck. Thank you, Steve.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Case SD.
Well, before you get into this, so item 11, there's been a request to put on our next full agenda on February 18th.
Well, we're not sure if it's February 18th or what date it is.
Well, we'll schedule it for February 18th, so.
Do we not know, is there?
He requested it, he was unavailable this
What, we're having a meeting February 18th.
We're scheduled,
Oh, okay, I didn't know. Okay.
Oh,
Yep, okay. So, the next item is our update, our update on the mixed-use district village. You know what I'm talking about.
zoning district.
But it's village, right? Mixed-use village, yes, please. Thank you for coming and giving us these updates, I appreciate it.
Marilyn Richards, 342 Pinehurst. I'm on the Town Council Planning Matters Subcommittee, and hence this update. We are still working very diligently to review the bylaw. As I've said previously, we've gone through just about twice. There's still some moving parts. Our chairman is currently out of town, so as soon as he comes back, we will resume. However, just so that you folks know, after the bylaw has sort of been sealed by the committee, it will be put in a format suitable to go to the town council. However, prior to that, we will also submit the draft bylaw or the proposed bylaw to our town attorney. Now, according to Ms. Connie, this didn't happen last time round before it came to the council, but that's probably okay because there've been enough change that we would want to look at it again. And the whole idea is to make sure that it gets a look-see with respect to legal issues. There were some questions about the community association and who owns what, and so we just really wanted to have some legal input as far as that's concerned. Once that happens, it'll go before the council. The council will have 2 public hearings, which is required, and hopefully then it'll be an opportunity for us to present this to the community so that the community can weigh in on this, because that's one piece that I have been a little uncomfortable with because we really haven't had a lot of publicity, major public forum where folks can hopefully embrace what work we've done and move forward with this. So that's it. Oh, and there's no drop dead date yet. We will get it done as soon as we can get it done.
So I did ask at the last meeting, and Connie kind of looked into it a little bit, about whether it needed to come back to the planning board due to the numerous changes associated with that. So could I request that when you give it to the town attorney for their viewing, that they maybe issue an opinion on one way or the other, whether it needs to come back to the planning board?
Rob, my understanding is that, once, and George was on the Charter Commission, once the bylaw came to the council has the privilege to amend or modify however they see fit. I don't know that it goes back to the planning board again.
Well, that's why
I'm not resistant to that,
No, we just want to cover all our bases.
Absolutely.
We want a legal opinion on it so that somebody can't come back and challenge it that you didn't do the right steps, okay? And part of the reason is it's been so long since we sent it, and there are certain time frames in the charter, okay? And it's been so long since we sent it to the council that some of those time frames may have expired. And therefore, it may or may not need to come back to us. I don't know.
Okay, absolutely.
And I would just like an opinion on it so that we don't get stuck and somebody says, oh, it's not valid because you didn't do it this way.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're all working on it together. You're welcome.
Thank you. If there are no other items on our agenda, so unless there's other business that someone wants to raise, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is it director's report?
We usually do the director's report on our planning meeting, or do you have issues you want to raise?
May I just formally introduce to the public the newest member of our planning board? I would like to introduce Peter Punderson.
For the whole bump and high.
He has stepped in to replace our planning board member Lou Morabito. And welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Thank you.